All right, and joining me today is Marc-Andre Barriault, who fights Chris Curtis at UFC 297. That fight is on January 20th. So, Mark, before we get to talking about that fight, I did want to talk about, you're briefly linked to a fight with Michael Pereira back in October. You had to step out due to an injury. You're back only 3 months after that time, so I'm assuming it wasn't something, completely debilitating. But can you share a little what's been keeping you out? What got you back in there so quickly?
Yeah, so unfortunately, last October, like 3 weeks before the fight scheduled against Michael Pereira, I had to pull out because of an old rib injury. I tried to push through during the fight camp, but it was hard for me to just keep going, and like physically, mentally, I was not at my best, so I had to pull out of this fight, man. It was the first time of my career that I had to pull out of a fight, but yeah, look, like two weeks after the I told the UFC about my injury. They asked me, "You think you're gonna be okay to fight like in January?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." So that's how the big fights come after that. Yeah.
Well, that's great because that kind of was my next question. You had a great 2023. The Anders fight. The Marquez fight. Both of them absolute bangers, huge wins. And I was going to ask, was it kind of frustrating to have sort of that big name dangled in front of you, Michel Pereira, lots of hype on him, and sort of kind of not get it?
I mean, I know he's a big name. Like he's a former like top 15 welterweight. Uh, but at that time when they offered me this fight, I was like, okay, it's kind of a good it was like a 50-50 like opportunity for me because this guy he is very awkward, and it's hard to mimic like his style in the training room. And especially with my style, I know you guys know I like to push the pace, and he's like he like to jump, step, dance, and it's so I said, okay, let's try. And then, yeah, I was sad that I had to pull out of this fight, but I feel like right now I have a way better opportunity in front of me.
Absolutely. And we'll get to talking about that in a second. But I did want to also talk about, obviously the fight of the night with Anders at UFC 289. You get the fight of the night bonus. I know that extra check always feels good.
Yeah.
Coming out of that fight, did you expect to get the fight of the night? Did you have big plans for the money when you did get it?
I mean, at first, every time I hope for the bonus, I never get them. So after the fight, me and my team went to a restaurant, and we just had fun and just like, yeah, enjoying yourself. And I was like very happy about my win and my performance. And suddenly I check online and I saw like I won the fight of the night. So I was like, wow, this is very good. This is gonna be like a game changer for me. And since then, I made a couple good moves here in Florida. So, like 3 years ago, I came here with my travel trailer and my pickup truck. So I had nothing else, just me, my wife, my dog, and my trailer. And now I just bought two mobile homes, and I'm starting to have the ball rolling. So it feels great.
That's awesome to hear. I love hearing good stories come to good guys like that. Now, we're going to talk about this fight with Chris Curtis. But before we do, I'm a guy who loves hearing the story of where MMA fighters got their nickname. And there's a bunch of bulldogs, there's a bunch of hitmen, there's the pit bulls. There's 17 guys with each of those nicknames. But there's only one power bar. There's only one
Yeah.
power bar in the UFC or in any regional promotion. I've only ever seen one power bar. So tell me, where's the nickname power bar come from?
Uh, so the nickname started like at my first fight. Back then in high school, like all my friends and the people used to call me Bar because of my last name, Barriault, Bar. So yeah, so all my high school people call me Bar. And so after my first amateur fight, I was not very technical. I was more like instinctive fighter. So just all my power and my will, and just yeah, I was like always forward. And since then, this name just kept following me, and I feel like it's the perfect fit because this is who I am. I'm not the most talented guy, but people people know that when I'm here, I'm here to fight and fight hard.
I love it. I love it. Now, you mentioned, the earlier fights, and I know early in your career, a lot of fights back in Canada. So I got to ask, obviously, getting a chance to go back to Canada, getting a chance to fight on your home soil again. What does it mean to you to get it one more chance to do that?
Oh, I mean, it's very nice because I did my UFC debut in Ottawa. Didn't go my way. I did a fight in Edmonton. Didn't go my way. So last time in Vancouver, it felt great to be back in Canada in front of a crowd, big pay-per-view. So I feel like the more the show is big, the more like I perform. So yeah, this time it's the same. Big card, first pay-per-view of the year, Toronto, especially with all the history fight with the GSP back then, and I feel great about this opportunity. So I'm very excited and looking forward.
And you mentioned GSP in there, and I know you've been fighting for a minute, so it's not like you were necessarily inspired by GSP to start fighting. But what was that a big piece of your upbringing? Like with being a Canadian guy, being interested in martial arts, was GSP kind of somebody who inspired you back then?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just for the for his GOAT status or the championship level, but for the human being he is. He's always been a humble guy from Quebec, French Canadian. Just like me. So I feel like I'm kind of the same guy too, just simple guy who likes to be the best version of myself and just fight hard and yeah. So GSP for sure was a big he was a big inspiring for me. So I feel great about it. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned, being the best version of yourself, and the best version of yourself is coming UFC 297 against Chris Curtis. Now, I'm curious what you think of this matchup because on one hand, Chris Curtis has been in some really exciting fights, and Chris Curtis has also been in some fights where he's done almost the opposite of what you're talking about, where you like to bite down and you like to come forward and you like to mix it up. If you take his fight with Rodolfo Vieira, that is a very passive fight, a very technical, stay on the outside, stay away from big action kind of fight. So when they offered you the name Chris Curtis, on one hand, you might see some of the bangers. On the other hand, you might see some fights like that. What were your first thoughts when you heard that name?
Um, my first thought was like, oh yeah, I want this fight. I feel like that's my ticket for the top 15, because all of the guys in the top 15, are very good grappler, very good wrestler, very good striker. But this guy, I feel like, he's a veteran, he's been there for a long time, fought the best. Like you said, sometimes you can expect a Chris Curtis going forward and try to stand and bang, or sometimes just like technical or just, cruise to the decision. So for my part, my style, I like to force the action. He's the action man. I'm the power bar. So I think that's going to be the perfect recipe for the firework, and especially in Canada, in front of my country. I feel that's going to be a banger for sure. But I'm ready. I'm willing to, be smart, technical if I have to. But if I have to bite down and just like go forward and yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, we're excited for that kind of fight. Now, before I do ask you for the prediction, because I love ending with a prediction, I gotta ask. You mentioned the top 15 in there, and you are 3-1 in your last four. Like I said, 2023, huge year for you. Two big wins over two big names in very exciting fashion. Should you win this fight with Chris Curtis, come out on top, give an exciting performance? Do you got names on your tongue? Are you the type of guy who's gonna call out somebody in the top 15? How do we handle this?
Yeah, it's hard for me in my position because I have some guys in front of me who beat me before, like Anthony Hernandez or even Junior Park. I fought him like 3 years ago, but if I have one fight that I would like to have a rematch is against Junior Park. This guy won 4 fights in a row. He just lost his last fight. So I don't know, maybe one more fight before the top 15 or the ranking doesn't really matters for me right now. I just want to go like fight by fight, make the most of it and just, be proud of myself. And like I said, be the best version of myself and keep inspiring people.
I dig that. Now, your next chance to do that, obviously UFC 297, January 20th. So give me the prediction. How's this one get done on that day?
So yeah, no, I see myself, fighting hard, fighting smart, but it takes two to tango. So I know that Chris gonna be there for a fight. I don't know if you're gonna go smart or you're gonna go hard, but I can see myself pick up the pace maybe in the later round and probably go with the decision again against this guy because he's tough. He's been there for a long time. So yeah, hopefully I can just place the good punch and the fight. But I don't like to count on that lucky shot. I want to work my way through the dominant performance and have my end raise at the end. Yeah.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. This has been Marc-Andre Barriault, who fights Chris Curtis at UFC 297. Once again, that fight, January 20th. Mark, thank you so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.